So, welcome to our workshop From Wound to Wisdom. We are talking about how to transform what looks like pain into purpose and give it back to the world as medicine. That is our topic. And I'm saying hello to everyone. And I was having so much fun. I decided not to leave out those of you who come to watch the recording. This is what I really love is the connection with all of you. It's very meaningful for me. And this is where the medicine is, right? Where we help each other turn our wounds into wisdom. And so in this session, we will be, oh, I have the wrong outline in front of me. In this session, we will be talking about what is that process of taking our own wounds, our life wound. And I believe that we are given our wounds as a gift from the Creator as part of our divine purpose. And if you think about the Japanese art of where they take gold and they put it over a broken vase, and that's where the light shines through. And for us, our wounding is what makes us, I don't want to say special, but that's not the point. It's not that we're special or privileged because of our wounding. It's that it is truly a gift we are given. And when we can hold the most painful parts of our lives as a gift, is when the real miracles in our lives start to happen. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we'll be talking about that process. We'll have experiential time for you all. We'll move because I believe in embodiment as part of the healing process and part of the writing process. So we'll move, we'll do journaling, we'll do breakout rooms with safe mirroring, because I really believe that healthy mirroring is part of our healing. And as much as we want to be giving our medicine, we're always in the process of healing. So we have a very safe format for breakout rooms where you will be positively mirrored. And yeah, so I was saying hi, and I am so proud of our authors. Erin was in this beautiful book here, Awakening the Divine Feminine. Yeah. And you talked about the of how you turned some of your wounding into wisdom and then medicine, working with yoga for special needs. And Sharo Keen in this, no, yes, no, you were not in that book. You were in, I don't have it. Hold on.
I have it. I have it.
Hold it up, my dear. I'm going to need you later. I thought I had it here. I actually just gave a friend a copy the other day. So Sharo Keen was in the book Unbreakable Spirit. She's holding up Unleashing. That's the book you were in, Unleashing the Courageous Feminine. Okay, beautiful. And she helped us with the cover. Hold it up again. Yeah. And Sharo Keen's is a very tender story about her ancestry, who was in the Assyrian genocide. And genocide is not just a word, it's war, and it's not pretty. And she had ancestors. One ancestor was beheaded in the lap of her grandmother. Let's take a breath. We want to hold these woundings with gentleness. And some of them are going to be extreme, like that. What I just said is extreme. And some of them are going to be much smaller and maybe even invisible. And still, our invisible wounds are important and can be turned into medicine, can be turned into gifts. We're going to be talking about that. We'll have time for breakout rooms. Um, we'll have time for open coaching. I love the open coaching. It's one of my favorite things. Just in preparing for this workshop with all of you today, I realized that really the work that I do is trauma healing. I do trauma healing, and it takes the form of journaling, publishing, and constellation circles. Constellation circles are a form of energy healing where you set up the system. Um, and make visible what was invisible and then move towards healing and so that love can flow in the system. So really what I do is trauma healing. And I had never really named it that until this morning when I was preparing for this workshop. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to see the work that I do in that light. Okay. let's just ground in who's here in this room. If you would each put into the chat your name and where you're calling in from, and maybe one thing you'd like to get out of this session, what your intention is. I'll take a breath to receive those. Wait, give you a moment to do that. Okay. Aparajita from India, joining from New Jersey, USA. Intention to connect in community. Beautiful intention. Aparajita, welcome. Sharokeen, sound is okay for me. Sometimes when I'm talking about trauma, I start talking more quietly. My apologies. So if you, Sharokeen, if it ever gets too quiet, I give you permission to unmute me. I think trauma is a very delicate topic. I was just doing a constellation here in my home the other day with somebody who's hearing impaired. And when we got to the really powerful moments, I started talking quietly and I had to say, Laura, keep speaking up. So that's what happens. Sharokeen's Deb, Grand Junction. I'm looking for inspiration. Awesome. May you receive that. Jessica Jennings from LA. I want to soak in the beauty and love of the divine feminine. Great. Bree from Aruba. Wonderful. More clarity on what story and medicine wants to come through. Okay, Bree, welcome. Barb from Morgan Hill, California. I used to live in the Bay Area. My intention today is clarity and motivation. May it be so. Deborah from Nebraska. I hope to deepen what I've learned here already. It's getting me closer to writing my medicine stories. Beautiful. Lisa Elliott, Claremont, California. I'm actually flying to LA today for a celebration of life tomorrow. So I'll be in your neighborhood. Clarity and being with stories. Lolly, Wisconsin, open to new ways of seeing my trauma. Tara, calling in from Spain. Oh, I love Spain. Intention to be open and receive the wisdom. Share, Northern Minnesota, needing inspiration to take the next step to share my story. Yeah, one step at a time. May it be so. Share, may you see and get excited about your next step today. Michelle, Ohio, wanting to understand story medicine more. Beautiful. Erin from Glenwood Springs. Oh, I didn't show did I show the book that you were in? Yes, I did. I did. I am 61 and sometimes I forget things. Karen, Seattle. Be present in this beautiful community and find clarity and courage to share my story. Jenny from Germany. Beautiful way to integrate all the interviews and community. Diane from Pennsylvania. Continue this beautiful journey of releasing and sharing in this community and be open to receive what comes forth. Rachel from Oregon. Was Justin, do you have the book Unbreakable Spirit? I actually don't have it near me. I'd love. Yes, Rachel was in Unbreakable Spirit. Did you just hop on, Rachel? Yeah, you missed me saying that. I started to realize my work is trauma healing, and I do it through journaling, publishing, and constellations. Erin, yeah. Yeah, and Rachel is a therapist, so she knows what I'm talking about. And having been through this process, I think you know it is trauma healing. Would you agree that everything I do is trauma healing? Yeah, okay. I'm owning it. Thank you all for coming present today and grounding with each other. Diane from Oregon just pulled the Priestess card yesterday in a reading as one of my soul gifts. Beautiful. You have Priestess medicine to share, Diane. I know it. Basil Aya from Nashville, ready to start writing again. I want a true voice to come through to heal myself and others. Okay, so Jessica may have to leave early. Premila, my dear friend, you've been on many of my webinars from Canada. Thank you for inspiring the healing as I write. Good to have you. Okay. Okay, so ladies, let me start talking here. We're gonna do a little teaching, then we'll do some experiential. I want you to write down 4 words in your journal. I want you to write 1, wound. Second word, wisdom. No, sorry. Second word is healing. Third word is wisdom. Fourth word, medicine. I'm going to put them in the chat in case I went too fast for somebody. 1, wound. 2, healing. 3, wisdom. 4, medicine. Okay. So as I was preparing for this workshop, I realized that it's not like one lump. We go through stages in our healing as well as stages in our visibility. These are healing stages of transformation of your medicine. So what is the wound? The wound is that open, bloody mess that is you being injured. Something happening that harms you, causes pain, causes confusion, causes turmoil, causes difficulty, pain that is unresolved. That's the wound. Who can relate to, there have been times in your life when you were like, I got a wound. Healing is when we begin to get some relief from our wound. Healing is being able to talk to somebody about what happened, who sees us, who understands, who says, I'm so sorry that happened. I'll sit with you through the pain of this grief. I'll sit with you through the pain of this loss. You know, in Africa, they say, no one should grieve alone. They don't leave you alone when you're grieving. In the Orthodox Jewish community, you're expected to be a mess when somebody has just died in your family and your friends and family bring you food for the first 7 days, month, whatever it is, while you sit Kaddish. They help you pray because they assume that in the grief of losing a loved one, you've lost the ability to have the clarity of mind to pray. So they come with you twice a day to pray the Kaddish, which is the mourner's prayer. Healing takes other people, I believe. We heal in community. And I believe that trauma would not happen if we had enough people so that in the moment of painful, overwhelming experiences, we were being held like a death. We're being held. We're not holding it alone. So healing is that moment when we say, I'm going to start making sense of this with others holding me. Wisdom is when we gain the perspective, enough distance on our trauma, on our wound, that we say, I see you now. I see you, wound. Let me hold this stone. In my heart, you are the wound that was given to me, and I've turned you into wisdom. I hold you in my heart. A wound becomes wisdom when we can look at it with a distance, say, I was wounded and I'm okay. I can stand. And we can speak from that place of wisdom. We can speak about what happened to us. We can speak to others about the wound. We can make wise choices to avoid that same wound happening again. We stop the repetition pattern. A lot of our wounds, our deepest wounds, we repeat. If you think about karmic wounds, maybe trauma, I have a friend, maybe this has happened to you, who was incested as a child, and it kept happening. She kept being a victim of sexual abuse as an adult. It hadn't been turned into wisdom yet. When we turn it into wisdom, we stop repeating the pattern. We say no to the doorways or the choices that would take us down that same path. We make different choices. What is medicine, and how do we know when we've turned our wound into medicine? That's the next stage when we say, I'm going to give my wounding back to the world. I'm drinking my medicine. I'm letting it be a nourishment for my life. As we age, I'm 61, I'm well into menopause, well into my wisdom years, where it's okay to forget and make mistakes. Don't have to be perfect anymore. I could cry as I say that. And I'm giving my wounds back as medicine to the world. How? Through this, through showing up today and telling you that it's possible to heal, that it's possible to get wisdom from your story, that it's possible. I've turned my gifts into medicine by helping other women publish, because publishing was part of my healing. And I'm giving that back to other women now. So you turn your wounds into wisdom when you're able to get distance and speak about them and not walk down that path. And you turn them into medicine when it becomes your life work, either as a gift, a service, or as a paid work. Doesn't have to be paid. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could be volunteering in your community. Yes, I see you, Aparajita. No one is meant to grieve alone. I really believe that too with the Africans. Thank you, Rachel. So my story, some of you have come to day 1 workshop, day 3 workshop, heard little bits, but I haven't talked maybe but about my trauma. So I told you on the first workshop that my family didn't really celebrate my voice. I got laughed at by my family for being a talkative little girl. And I got shamed and by my mother for being a passionate teenager and having a passionate voice that wanted to argue for nonviolence. And there was also trauma in the mix. So my voice was shut down for those reasons. And I believe it was shut down for a deeper reason, which was, take a breath, everyone. I was molested. This is a common story, right? By my uncle and my father. Bless his soul. He's still alive. And I have done a lot of healing with my father. And he was a wounded soul from his family. He was, I believe, in fact, he told me in veiled words, in no way, without really saying it, that he was incested by his brother. Where did that come from? From their family lineage. So in my family lineage lives sexual abuse. It's in my line. And the effect on me was to be very traumatized and shut down. I'll just tell you some of the ways it showed up. I was so shut down. And what happens when there's an incest triangle with the father and the daughter? The daughter, I was cut off from my mother. I was not bonded with my mother in a healthy way. She didn't know how to protect me based on her lineage, and I wasn't protected. So, when I got my first period, I was so shut off from my mother that I did not tell her that I was bleeding. I hid my bloody underwear in a drawer. I was alone in that moment of becoming a woman, of becoming fertile. I had no one to tell. I was ashamed of my body. I was so cut off from my beautiful body that I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my younger sister. I don't have an older sister. I believe I had a twin who died in the womb, but I didn't tell anyone. That's how lonely I was at that age. My mother found my underwear a couple months later and looked at me and said, Laura, why didn't you tell me? And I was like stunned and silent and embarrassed. And I had no words. I didn't know how to say, because I'm cut off from you, because I don't value my body, because I was ashamed. I don't know. I was silent and just. I got an eating disorder. Here's the second way it showed up. It showed up in a lot of ways. I'm just going to give you some ways that it showed up. I got an eating disorder in early college, and I would binge in secret. Not all the time, but often enough that it hurt. It was lonely. I was cut off. I was embarrassed and terrified somebody would walk in and find me stuffing my face. I was embarrassed my mother would find them missing food. Nobody ever discovered my binge eating. Finally, I told my first boyfriend in college, and he didn't quite get it. But I finally told somebody, and that was the moment I started to get better, was when I could talk about the shame. Took a couple years. I'm sending compassion to that 20-something girl. Another way it showed up was that I was so overbonded with my father and underbonded with the feminine side of myself, overbonded with the masculine, that I majored in physics in college. Now, yeah, I thought physics was interesting. I liked that. But by the end of college, I was sick of math. I was so tired of math. I said, why the fuck did I major in that? I thought my friends would major in psychology or philosophy, and I really was jealous. I said, I wasted my college years. I went and got a master's in psychology later, so I made up for it, but that's how overbonded I was. So that was my wounding. What was the healing? The healing was when the healthy part of me told somebody, told my first boyfriend. And then I walked into the college counseling center and began to do therapy with an intern. I began to talk about it. Psychotherapy for decades. On and off, not straight. Women's circles was part of my healing, talking about it to save others. And I think yoga, which I discovered at about the age of 26, 27, made a massive difference for me in valuing my body. I needed to come home. I needed to regulate my nervous system. Yoga taught me to regulate my nervous system. Yoga taught me to heal my immune system, which I got chronic fatigue in my 20s, which is very common for women. I healed from that. So yoga, therapy, and women's circles are what helped me heal. What was the wisdom? Well, the wisdom was when I began to talk outside of just my boyfriend or therapy. I told my mother. I know not all women who've had any kind of difficult experience can tell their parents. I told my mother. In my case, I was lucky my mother was able to believe me. That's rare. I know it's rare. That's not everybody's story. That was my story. And I healed over a decade or two. I healed my relationship with my mother. And I was there when she had cancer. I continued to heal. I did yoga therapy with her in the hospital. That was part of wisdom of I made a conscious decision to heal my relationship with my mother. That was the wisdom. I read about this when I did my master's, and I read about incest. I have to heal with the feminine. How did I turn it into medicine? I believe that came when I began to publish. And that's why I think that publishing is part of the healing journey. Yes, we can do one phase of trauma healing with a therapist. And therapy can be very important when we're at the beginning stages of trauma healing. It will not take you all the way. I really believe that. I really believe that the medicine comes when you share with the world, when you speak, when you say, this is a gift, and when you make meaning from it by giving back. So I'll tell you, I was given the opportunity to be in a collaborative book in 2018. That's 7 years ago. And I told my husband, I'm going to write about how I healed my eating disorder and how I healed my relationship with my mother. Because by that time, I'd been telling my money story for like a decade. I said, I'm tired of telling that story. I want to go younger. I want to talk about my own healing with my mother, healing my connection to my feminine being. I said, but I'm worried that healing from incest, healing from an eating disorder, healing from chronic fatigue is going to be boring. I'm really worried that's going to be a boring story. Have any of you felt like your story wasn't worth telling? Raise your hand if you can relate. Like there's core medicine story of your life. You're like, nobody's going to want to read that. Some of you can relate. Yeah. Luckily, my husband disagreed. He said, Laura, you've got to tell that story. That's a good story. I'm like, okay. So what happened was I wrote it in a chapter. It was about 3,000 words, published it in this book, The Game Changer, by my, at that time, business mentor for Divine Feminine Yoga. There's me. I was the last one to turn it in, so I got put last in the book, but I got it in. And, and I gave it to friends to write. I had pre-readers to read back, and the mirroring, just writing it down. I believe that's when I began to turn it into medicine. And that gave me the courage to put it into my book. And 1 year later, I finished my book. I had been struggling for 19 years. I had a pregnancy for 19 years. I was stuck. I couldn't get this book out. And 1 year after I published the story, because I put parts of my healing into this book, Moon Salutations, Women's Journey Through Yoga, that's when I really turned it into medicine. That's when I really turned it into medicine. And then, 2 years later, I began helping other women turn their core life stories into medicine. That's when I kept turning into medicine. The medicine goes deeper every time you give it back. So those for me are the 4 stages. Go ahead and just type into the chat what's coming up for me as you hear my story. I know it's a deep story, and I went long, and if we have to go 2 hours in this workshop today, I hope some of you can stay with me. I am going to just give you everything that I have to give today. This might be a 2-hour workshop. Alyssa, thank you for your courage in speaking your truth and healing and wisdom. Deborah, thank you for such tender sharings. Michelle, I can relate as well, sending love. Cher, I did the same. I feel you. Amy, I just arrived home. Thank you again for this beautiful container. Welcome. Good to have you, Amy. Lolly, sending a heart. I wrote a memoir of the transformational journey of healing chronic fatigue syndrome and sexual abuse. They often go together, not always. Definitely healing and medicine. Beautiful, Alyssa. I'd love to read your memoir. Deb, speak your truth, share resonance. So moved by your share. Thank you, Rachel. I feel your medicine. Jessica, our stories are so similar. I'm going to get to read yours soon because I'm helping you. Excited about that. Deborah, I so appreciate your description of your process to healing, Diane. Gratitude for your courage. I can relate to the mama wound. In Constellations, Bert Hellinger, who was the founder of that methodology, said that if we want to have a healthy adult relationship, like a romantic relationship, we need to heal our relationship to our mother. So my relationships got better as I continued to heal my relationship with my mom. Cheryl Keen, so grateful for your story of truth, so authentic. Erin, your story is powerful and tender. It shows your resilience and strength. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Grateful for your share and healing. Tara, very touching. Whew. Karen, I feel such a deep familiar. My heart cracked open and my girl inside felt safe. Well, I'm tingling. Can you all see how this process of speaking, this process of visibility, I'm being visible every time I tell my story. And I'm continuing to heal because you all are witnessing me. Now, I need to have done a certain amount of my healing. I'm not going to bring you the rawest parts of my journey. All those pieces that I shared with you are in my writing. I've already written them down. By writing them, I've already digested them. I'm not bringing you my undigested story. I'm bringing you my digested story that's already been healed. It's already been made wisdom because I've spoken it before. But it's medicine in this moment as I give it back. And as I say, I'm helping other women do the same thing. All right. Do you see that this 4-step process matters? You don't take your wound and share it with your students. You share from the healing part, and preferably you share from the wisdom part. Okay. So if you're in the middle of a wound, go to safe others, go to therapists, go to your spiritual community, go to your minister, go to your counselor, go to your constellator for the wounding until it's transformed into healing. Turn it into wisdom. Then you can give it back to your community as medicine. Okay. All right, let's do some practice now. You get to do this. We're going to do our embodied section. Remember, when I teach writing, I teach it as embodied flow writing. There's 3 phases. We do embodiment to get out of the mind into the heart. We do meditation to sit with, and then we do writing. I do in these short 90-minute, okay, maybe we'll go over. In these short workshops, we do 5, 5, 5. It's really short. When I have longer, when I have an immersion day, we do longer. We do like 10, 10, 10 or 10, 10, 20. In other words, 10 minutes of movement, 10 minutes of meditation, 20 or 30 of writing. Okay. Makes a difference. But for this, we can just do really short. Premila, thank you for modeling your courage and beauty as a healed woman. Yeah, we're always in process, right? All right. Bree, deep wisdom, healing, and transformation. Thank you. I appreciate your vulnerability and willingness to share. Thank you, Bree. Okay, I'm going to spotlight myself. And let's stand up. Oh, sitting on my ankles. Ah. Feeling the medicine. Ah. And I'm going to unblur my background. So come to standing. And I'm going to take off my socks, even though it's a little chilly, just because I like to feel the soles of my feet on Mama Earth. Hip circles. Go the other way. Ah, feel the womb moving. And then twisting. Wide legs, step, arms go around. To hands and switch. Ha, let out some sound. Ha, ha, ha. Sound is healing. Ha, 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 ha. Looking behind with your eyes. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, step wide with your feet. Take your hands, reach up, open the front of the body, and then make fists, pull it in and down, and look back between your feet. Inhale, reach in, breathe in, exhale, come down, ha. Breathe in, and ha. Breathe in, and ha. You can do this on a chair, you can do it sitting. Feel free to modify any way you like. Ha. Ha. Pulling. Ha. And now we're going to put our hands on the ground. Just go from one side to the other, bending one knee at a time. And let out sound from the back of the throat. Now we're going to come into a twist. You can have both knees bent, or you can straighten them, whatever works for you, for your legs. Take one arm up, reach towards the ceiling. Looking to the side. And then switch. And rolling up. We're going to do breaths. Take the arms to the side, arms up, bringing them down. And up and down. And then come down and we're going to hold goddess squat. Come to star. We're going to turn the feet to one side and just reach to the side, triangle to one side, circle the arm. Again, any variation, you don't have to make your pose look like mine. We're just moving the body. Arm, arm. Go the other way. Turn the feet the other way. Reach to the side. Rotate the arms. You can put your hand. I've got a bed here as a prop. Circle the arm. And shake it out. And let's come back. Have your journal near you, please, and a pen. And let the eyes close. Ah, 3 long, slow breaths. And just notice who's here writing with you. It might be a spirit of the moon. We're in a waning moon right now, going towards new moon. So the spirit of the moon might be with you. There might be a power animal, perhaps a deceased ancestor. Perhaps a wisdom guide, an ascended master or teacher, or some other archetype, or your own better angels guiding you towards your healing. And we're going to drop a question into this space. Dear guides and teachers, dear higher power and wisdom, please show me a moment when my wounds began to turn into wisdom. Show me the turning point. When I began to see the gift in the pain. Then we're going to take up your journal and your pen. And let's put today's date. And we're going to write, my dear daughter, what I want to show you is and begin writing about a time when you began to turn your wounds into wisdom and you began to see the gift. Just let the pen flow. Whatever comes, don't judge it. It doesn't have to be exactly on the topic that I'm suggesting. You may go in a different direction. Totally fine. Just trust what comes. Okay, and finishing up what you've been writing. Again, I know this is super short, and you can always come back to this later, right? When we have a full day, we can write for longer, but with this short workshop, we're going to go short. So just finish the sentence you're on and put your pen down. In a moment, we're going to go to breakout rooms, and let me share with you what we're going to do in those rooms. We're going to participate in what I call sacred reflection circles. We will start with yin listening in a 3-minute share. Speak from the body as you're reading. And those of you listening, especially, are listening with your body, not your brain. So rest into the back body and just let the words touch you. Then, after the 3-minute share, the listeners are going to give what I call yin feedback. This is just one sentence. And here's the prompt. When I heard you say, and you're going to pick a word they said, a sentence they said, or a concept, a phrase, a piece of the story. I felt, and share something from your body. I felt excited, happy, sad, tingles, an uplift in my chest, whatever is genuine to you, and then thank you. This way, the woman knows she has been heard. Okay? Then go to the other women in the group. Okay, I think we are all back. Welcome back. How many of you found that helpful to get to share and be witnessed? Yeah. So I hope you can see that this process of embodied flow writing, going from uh, being in the body to journaling on a wound that is transforming into wisdom, and then being mirrored contributes to our healing and helps you get closer to that wisdom phase and perhaps even the medicine phase where you're ready to take it out for visibility, right? In publishing or speaking. I wanted you to get a chance to hear from some of our authors. So I've brought Rachel here because this is what the journey, that you all are on, that some of our clients have gone through. And I wanted you, so I have Rachel here and also Kathy. I'm going to ask you to come on, Rachel, and just share. I know you wanted to come from the beginning of the session. I know, Kathy, you had the time wrong, no worries. But, even once we go through this process, we're still in the process. I'm going to spotlight myself with you. So I'm not going to tell you what to say. I'd love to just give you a moment to be spontaneous. What's coming up for you around this theme of from wound to wisdom, the 4 phases that I showed everyone? And what was it like for you to take a part of your journey and transform it into wisdom and then medicine as you got published in Unbreakable Spirit? Maybe you could just hold up the book cover again. I'm very proud of you.
Sure. There it is. Um, I'll tell you what, when Laura, thank you. It's so good to be in your presence doing this work again. Yeah, it's just drops me right in. So thank you so much. Yeah, Unbreakable Spirit, 18 Stories of Feminine Resilience, Blessings, and Renewal. Mine is chapter 10, Protection of the Goddess. How my soul gifts pulled me out of the chasm of grief and shame. So I did not think I was going to be writing a memoir story at that time. I knew that I wanted to write a book someday. When, how, what? And then I saw Laura's email and I was like, I think this is it. I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I need this. And it's amazing how just dropping into the meetings that we would have, on a regular basis, just coming in and having that experience anchored me through. I mean, at the time, I was in the process of a move and all these things in my life, but I knew I still needed to do this. I'm so glad I did. And today, just talking about this process of the wound to wisdom and medicine came up some more about the abandonment wound.
Oh,
And so now I'm pulling on that thread in the story that I shared in the book. As you know, it's like it's in there, but I didn't talk about the abandonment wound in that story. I shared,
We
the
share different
journey of
levels.
what,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And now I think that abandonment wound is getting highlighted more, which is really interesting today to see that. But yeah, it was healing for me to write that, to write about my upbringing in the cult, to write about the sexual abuse, to write about the fact that I blamed myself for my boyfriend's death when I was 21. He overdosed and, all of that. But the patterns of abandonment, I'm really seeing that today. And caught glimpses of it when I was in grad school, for their counseling. I was listening to this podcast and I had that aha moment like, oh my God, that's why I've been abandoning myself for so long. That's why I've been trying to please all these men. And that's why these patterns, because I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be loved. I didn't feel like I was seen and loved. And then I also connected it today with the mother wound because my mother was subservient to him
Okay.
growing up, and all the women in that group that I grew up in,
Right.
this whole thing of pleasing the man. If I please the man, then I'll be safe, I'll be taken care of. And it's
Right.
that I'm not worthy, I can't do it on my own thing.
Yeah.
And you said something today about healing the mother wound, and you're so right. As my mother healed too, which is another miracle that she was able to do that. My relationship with my relationships healed, and my husband and I have been married 16 years now, and our relationship got deeper and healed so many wounds. So this process was beautiful, and I'm so glad I did it, even though I thought, can I really do this? You
You
know,
thought that? Why were you
I
worried?
did.
You worried? What was your
Yeah.
fear?
In the beginning, I thought, will I have enough time? Will I have enough energy? I've got so much going on. And I had been trying to write for so long that I didn't, I was having such a hard time on my own putting things together. Like, what is this? How am I going to finish it? You know,
Right.
how am I going to like put all the pieces together and make it sound right? And of
Yeah.
course, you and Hyla and all the help that all the other beautiful women in the group gave to assist in the editing process helped draw it out even more. And that was just, in the end, it was fun because then I was like, oh, I can play with my writing now and my voice as a writer too. So that was a big part of it for me. So yeah, it's really great.
Well, I didn't know you felt that way, but I think you're right. I think we all feel that way at the beginning. It's like it, and if I go back to before I had even written a chapter and had it published, I had had a chapter published in graduate school, but I still, when I came to my own story, it was so much more vulnerable. And I was like, can I tell this story? How, what pieces to include, what pieces not to include? Well, thank you, Rachel,
Yeah,
for sharing.
yeah,
And you've done
exactly.
such a beautiful job of
Hmm.
yeah, you just jumped in with all feet.
I did. I was like,
And
here we go. I'm gonna do this.
I had never read a story. I love one of the things I love about this for me is that I get to learn about the world. Like I had never known somebody who grew up in a Christian cult, um, which you did. And so that was just fascinating for me. I learned so much from all of you.
Mm. Well, thank you for mirroring it and witnessing it with me, and it has helped me in my work that I'm doing with my clients, my communities, and everything too. It's really emboldened me even more having done this. So
And
I
do you
really
feel that it
appreciate you,
helped you
Laura.
turn your wounds into wisdom, into
Uh,
medicine?
oh, for sure. Absolutely 100%. Yeah, because now I'm able to take this story and see it because it externalizes it, right? The self-expression, and then you have it out. Now you're looking at it and it's speaking to you, and it's like our life's work is always telling us something, right? It's like, oh, oh, now I understand, and now I can share that in a deeper way, in an even more richer, meaningful way with others. And absolutely
You're
100%.
beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful. All right,
yeah.
let's all give a big bow. to Rachel for her courage and vulnerability in telling her story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
I'm gonna remove your spotlight if I can. There we go. All right. So I also, Kathy volunteered to come and speak today. Brave, visible woman, also has that book, Unbreakable Spirit, behind you. Kathy had the time wrong, so she missed all of your, doesn't matter. She missed the whole thing about From Wound to Wisdom, but came in at the top of the hour and so missed all that. But I'm really glad to have you here, Kathy. You also were very vulnerable in telling a really painful story, and I'd love to hear whatever you want to share. I'm not going to script this. Like what have you noticed for yourself in taking a wound from your own life and the healing that you have done and are continuing to do and turning it into wisdom and then medicine that you could write in this chapter? Do you want to talk about what that was like for you?
Yes, definitely. When I started writing this chapter, like everyone else, we kind of had one thing and that we were thinking about, and it transformed itself the more we wrote. And my writing really was healing for me. Yes. Anyways, let me skip forward. But I want to say I definitely started with a definitely a deep healing process, and then I got sick during writing, so I had another hurdle I had to jump over to make things work, but it all worked out. But yeah, so I'm a recovering 6.5-year widow. I say recovering because I feel like the process is just ongoing and it never stops. Now I'm transformed. Well, through the death of my husband, it created that hurt and the wound that we needed to heal. And through that process of healing that wound, I realized I had many other wounds that I needed to heal as well. So long story short, through my writing, mind, body, and spirit, it was a combination of everything together that created my transformation. And now I've gone from an introvert that stayed at home and just wanted to cry and talk about my feelings. Now I'm in the world and trying to help other women and other widows specifically to have stability during their grief, or at least financial stability during their grief, because grief is such a hard thing for people to do, and everything kind of falls apart around you when you're going through the process. So through my writing, I went from the wound to the medicine. That was the whole process was that for me. So
Yeah. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, yes, you did get sick. We were in the hospital actually partway through the process. And one of the things that I'm proud of, and I will say, is that we found a way to get you into the next book so you didn't have to lose out. I really believe in getting women published, whatever it takes. If that means we'll put you off a couple months, it would still make it possible for you to be included. And then the second thing is, I remember your first draft of the story, Kathy, if I can be vulnerable with you. And I said, you're sharing a lot of the difficulty, and I want you to show up also with your strengths. Do you remember me saying that?
yes, that was the catalyst to my healing, to actually transforming it to the other side, for sure.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that happens when I work with authors is I do a soul read. It can be a soul read of a chapter, or if I'm working with an author who's writing a full book, it can be a soul read of their full book. I'm about to do that with Jessica, who's here. And but I read it not just from a point of view of like editing, like is the writing good, or but I really read it from a point of view of, have you said everything your soul needs to say? And usually I'm able to help with the beginning or the ending or the meaning. Sometimes people need to go more into the dark, and I coach them to really tell more of the hard parts. Or sometimes people need to go more into the light. And if I can be transparent, that was what we were helping you do, is, you've done a really good job of talking about the dark. Let's find the light here, more of it to balance it, because I know you are amazing, Kathy. You are this powerful tax preparer. And when we need our finances in good shape, you help women with their finances. And so let's highlight that, and let's highlight also the messages that you've gained through, you've had a lot of death around you.
Yes.
Not just of your husband dying, he drowned, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a hard experience. Your husband drowned, but also when you were a child and there was a fire.
Mhm.
And I do find this a lot that was it your cousins or your nieces and
Nephews.
your
Nephews.
nephews young who died in a fire, a house fire. And I do find this that the wounding we have as a child is often mirrored in an adult experience, that our karmic lessons will repeat. Thank you for the gifts that keep on giving, you know, and so what are the gifts of death that now you can give back and coach other women who are grieving? And look at you today, so calm and composed.
Yes, it's going through this that has definitely led me there. And you were definitely my light in the process and helped me get to realizing which I knew I had the strength, but it really solidified your words were, death is your friend. And I was like, ooh, my reaction. But once it kind of settled in, I realized like, this has been my entire life. Last week I just went to my aunt's funeral. She passed 87 years young, but had a great life. But she was the last of my generation above me. So that era is now gone. But anyways, and it hit me during tax time again. So it's always it's always something. But yes, so I have learned to live with grief, death, however you want to say that, and try to transform it and to see the positive in it, even though it's really hard and I hate losing people. I want to remember them forever because I love them and I don't want them to die with their death. I want to keep them alive in my memories and in my love for them, and to be positive about it instead of the negatives, you know.
Thank you so much. And thank you for showing up here. Do you feel that going through this process of writing a chapter helped you turn your wound into medicine, your story into medicine?
100%. My wound, and if my physical wound is my thyroid, which is my voice. And I realized that's my soul journey was to find my voice again. And Laura, you helped me do that. So I'm gonna start bawling just thinking about it. But that was my healing, and that's where I've come to the other side of things. And now I'm trying to use my wisdom to help other women.
Oh, well, thank you. I did not know about your thyroid. You had never mentioned that to me. And well, these stories keep unfolding layers of complexity. Thank you. And I'm glad you're healing in that way.
Yes. And thank you too.
Yeah. So I want to take a moment and invite all of you here into my next collaboration. My next book is Radiant Wisdom, 18 Stories of Feminine Power, Purpose, and Rebirth. And it's time for us to share our wisdom. So I want to tell you how you can apply to be a co-author in this book. If you feel that you are ready to take some core story from your life where you have taken a wound and turned it into wisdom, I would love for you to apply as a co-author. You will get to, what will happen is there's a very short application. I'll put the link in the chat in just a minute. It's just 6 questions, and I'll read your application and get back to you within, pretty quick. But what's going to happen is you get to join a group of other women who are also telling their story. So the cool thing about this is the first time you go through this process of facing the doubts, can I do it? Can I tell this complex story in a way that's understandable? So the doubt that Rachel named and that I have experienced of, how am I going to do this? How am I going to take what is a pretty complicated healing from an eating disorder, from not connecting with my mother? How am I going to put words to that? I have so many more words now because I went through this process. Rachel and Kathy have so many more words for their own healing because of going through this process. So you do it in a group. We have immersion days. We write together. You are witnessed in the group. Then you edit together. I teach you the editing process, teach you the publication process, the bestseller process, and we do all of this together. So your visibility is growing with the support of a collaboration. And you don't have to write a whole book. You start with a chapter, which is frankly a lot more doable. It's plenty to bite off at the beginning. You have 3 levels of editing, a soul read with me, We have buddy editing. I teach you a safe. You see how I keep these reflection circles safe? The buddy editing is also safe because this is trauma healing. And then we have a professional editor, Hyla. She's an amazing editor. And not just that, she's a cheerleader for all of you. And she collaborates with you. She doesn't just go in and, like a school marm, change it. She collaborates with you in finding your unique voice and the way to say things. That's also going to, meet editing standards. So it's an incredible process. And I'm going to pop the link in here for you to apply. And then we're going to do open coaching. Actually, let me show you a picture of the book, the cover here. So it's called the Sacred Author Incubator. That's the program where you get all this support and collaboration. And here's the book, Radiant Wisdom, 18 Stories of Feminine Power, Purpose, and Rebirth. All right, and would be really an honor, would be my honor to get to work with you on an extended basis for those of you who are feeling called to have my coaching and to learn to share your voice and turn your wounds into wisdom, and by writing one chapter in a book like this. Okay. So take a moment, tune into your heart. And for those of you who are feeling called, I hope you will grab that link so you have it open when we finish this call. And now I'm going to open the floor for anybody who would like open coaching or has questions. You can put your questions in the chat. In doing this, who has copyright? Great question. I would own copyright of the book, but you own copyright of the chapter. And what that means is that you can repurpose it. You can publish it on your own. As we've had one author right now is in the process of taking her chapter, and actually she already did publish it as an ebook, and then she's expanding it into her memoir. That's totally fine. You can repurpose it in blogs, articles. You own copyright to your chapter and can do whatever you want without it. Diane, blessings to you, Laura, such sacred work you offer. Okay, and now, whoops, I lost. Okay, I'm going to do open coaching. So I see Bree. Hello, Bree.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How
Yeah,
can
so
I
I
help
have,
you today?
okay, I'm interested in applying, and I have a story that um like in the first workshop it felt like it wanted to be shared around going bankrupt and then healing from it, and a lot of the kind of my father's lineage like almost lost their farm, and there's a lot of wounding and trauma around like losing everything and not having money. And then from past lives, there's also like being a spiritual teacher, but kind of being like a monk and not having like any money. And so it's like healing, having those two go together. The piece I feel shy about is that I live in a woman's body, but I identify as gender fluid, and I, yeah, I don't necessarily respond to the term women as like a full body yes. So I don't know if that's like a place for me to share this story, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you for your bravery in coming here and asking this question, because it's very, very vulnerable. That would really be your choice. And I can tell you this is a complex question that a lot of people are dealing with today in our culture, right? And I think it's very hard emotionally to be at the center of such a powerful, painful cultural conversation. Because for you, it's individual. And so I wish there weren't like a bigger conversation. I wish this were just you, but we can't ignore that there are systemic factors here in the larger culture that are arguing over this. I will say for me, I have had oh gosh, in different years, different experiences with transgender, with gender non-binary, like very different in different years. When I was writing this book, Moon Salutations, I had a neighbor who was transgender man and was the first person in Oakland to give birth as a man to a baby. And he read my book and said, Laura, you need to make it more gender neutral.
Mhm.
Particularly the chapter on pregnancy and birth, because
Mm.
he had given birth in the Kaiser Hospital. They did all this sensitivity training, and I was kind of shocked. This was now 6 years ago. So, I have to own my limitations as a coach based on my background, you know. And I mean, I was a tomboy as a kid, and I lived as a lesbian for 11 years. Had a partner, a lesbian, who probably, if we would have been born 40 years earlier, would have been exactly in your situation. And she later had breast removal surgery just because she never liked her breasts, but she always identified as a woman. So, I mean, I have to acknowledge my age at 61, that I didn't live through this younger time when this was what you're going through. It's like, it's really common in the culture right now. We can't ignore it. So I, in response to my neighbor, did make several, like a lot of editing changes to the chapter on pregnancy. And looked at how being transgender affects fertility.
Mm.
And I included that in a couple of paragraphs. It's not like the focus of the book, because the focus of this book is on, and the focus of my work has been on women's bodies, menstruation. I'm in menopause now, so I went through that. Pregnancy, infertility, fertility. And, I have to acknowledge my own experience. Now I'm in a heterosexual marriage, and I do work with women. So the question is, I wouldn't exclude you, but would you be comfortable being in a group of really strongly identified women, many of whom write about women's experiences, rape? We had a couple of rape stories, breast cancer. So, and I don't use I'd be happy to, use gender affirming pronouns for you, but in my own experience, I do use the word women, ladies, and I have to tell you, a couple years later, when I looked back at that, I thought to myself, are we writing women out of history? If I go too far in
Mhm.
taking my chapter on pregnancy and I say pregnant people instead of pregnant women, or I can't say mothers, I say people who, I'm like, wait a minute, am I writing? Because I think words are important. I think it's important that women have the gift of giving birth. And so I'm not going to go any further in my language. I'm going to affirm that women have babies. I'm not going to say pregnant people. So
Mhm.
there's an edge there. I want to have women's spaces. So I don't know how that lands for you.
Yeah, I think I have to explore my own internal world with it. I feel drawn on a spiritual level to explore it, at least, just to have that conversation. And because I usually am in women's circles, and it's really not an issue for me. It's just, I guess, having women on the cover of the book and not identifying it as a woman felt, I don't know, like it's something that I need to explore, I guess, and sort out.
So yeah, I have a good friend here in Sedona who is non-binary and shows up in all the women's spaces, many women's spaces that I go to, and there's never been an issue. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today. Maybe that's as far as we'll take this conversation. If you're interested to continue the conversation, I would recommend you apply, and you and I can talk, sleep on it, and then you and I can talk about it some more. I'm really open to that conversation.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Laura,
Uh,
can I ask a question?
About this?
Actually, it's not a question, it's a compliment to Bree, if I may.
Absolutely, yes.
And this is something you've never heard. I think you might like to hear, Laura. That so to think about Laura's long-term business, I think is Divine Feminine Yoga, or I don't know if you still use that name anymore, but that's when I first started working with Laura a long time ago. Is it over a decade? I've been in and out, enjoying and loving and growing from all that you offer. And here I am today, kind of just dropping in. Spirit came to me and told me I was supposed to meet with those 2 breakout partners and hear your message today. And I don't know whether I'm going to be ready to write my story. I'll tell people I actually dropped out of the last book. When I was going to write a second chapter, I couldn't get it done. But in the first book that I wrote a chapter for, I loved the process. And I got to tell you, Bree, I'm going to second what Laura said, that you're very brave to share your story and to be here. And I applaud that. And I think that what the group of women that come together, that Laura brings together, what she does through the process is just so healing and powerful, and that it could be worth it. It's of course your decision, but I wanted to share a similar but different thing in terms of the divine feminine. I've always really related to the feminine, but honestly, I've never liked the word divine. That's what you've never known, Laura. I don't connect with the word divine. And I remember when the first book, but I appreciate that a lot of people like it. And I remember the first book, I think it had a different title to start out. And I don't think that's ever happened again, where the title has changed. But I think the title changed in the process after I'd already signed on to be in the book. And then it changed to a new title.
It
And
was birthing ourselves into life.
Birthing ourselves into light, which I loved. And I was just becoming a mom and birthing my daughter. And it's been such a healing
Maybe I'll
journey.
do another book with that title. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
And so,
appreciate this.
yeah, but I do appreciate, and so we don't have to like all the words, is what my point is that the process of what comes out in your own words may still be worth it for what Laura offers, just to consider. I'd recommend still considering that.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.
Beautiful. Okay, and thank you, Bree. And I will say it's extremely rare that somebody doesn't finish. And it's had because you were writing about something that was like present, right? And I generally recommend we need to write about something that's in the past, and that helps. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And you were in the first book and you finished. And it was the second one when you were writing about something that present was a little too present, I think. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath for Bree and Erin. And we have some more hands raised. Let me just make sure for those of you who want, because we're getting so many comments here. Let me see what else. What is the fee structure? Yeah, Jessica. So after you apply, and then when we get on the phone, there's 2 levels. So I need to see which is right for you. We can talk about that at that time. And there's no commitment, obviously, until you know the fee structure and we've talked through other questions you might have. Sounds energetically like you giving voice inside a woman's book would give voice to other women living side of you. The experience you're going through is, you're not alone, Bree. So, and particularly your story that you mentioned about money over multiple lifetimes is fascinating. I'm going to put the application again, and then I'm going to go to Barb. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Laura.
How can I support you today?
Boy, I have loved these prompted writings because they're like pulling out things that I didn't know were connected or maybe underlying or the root of. And so today, this mama wound thing really came up. And I went through a divorce 6 years ago, and it's resurfaced within the last few months. We've been in the legal system, and I've been defending myself and having wild success. And it's hard to call it celebratory or victorious. But it has been that, but it's been a painful process. And, I heard you in the past say we don't want to write, and you said it again today, you don't want to write about something present. You want to write about something in the past.
Doesn't have to be too far in the past,
Mhm.
but a little bit.
Yeah. And so I feel like what I tapped into today, because I thought about this.
Please publish. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry to interrupt you. You can be journaling about the present. But
Yeah.
if you're going to publish, it does help to be just
Yeah,
a
that's where
little
I'm
bit.
going. So I've been thinking about this chapter thing and how would I turn, I mean, I could probably write a book series on
Yeah.
the process of divorce and all the ways this went with this type of person, or it could be a Lifetime movie or something like
Yeah.
that. But today I feel like a chapter came through, and it was this thing with my mom.
Yeah.
And, I always viewed her as the biggest bully in my life, and that I
Wow.
was always so judged for being sensitive. And I was always called too sensitive.
Mm.
And I always viewed it as a problem.
Mm.
And, I met mushrooms and LSD the summer of 20. And I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew the world was like this. Like, it just affirmed my sensitivity. I knew I was seeing things correctly. I knew energy was real. I knew plants had energy and people had energy and things had
I
color.
love that. I love that.
And then I met a Sufi teacher, meditation teacher at 25, who, posed my sensitivity in the correct way and said, have you ever noticed you're a little sensitive? And I said, oh my gosh, my mother told me my whole life I'm too sensitive. And he said, repeat that again. My mother told me my whole life I'm too sensitive. And he said, that's sensitivity magnified. Why is that a bad thing? And it's the first time in my life I never judged it. And his next words were, go develop it.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. So Barb, what is your question?
Yeah. And so I was thinking about this chapter thing. And would the chapter be for me my healing journey from my teachings with my Sufi, or would they be the stuff with my mom? Because I feel like the stuff with my mom resurfaced in divorce even worse.
Yeah.
And
I'm
better
hearing that it's both.
right now. It's at this stage right now, it's better than it's ever been with my
Yeah,
mom.
I'm hearing that your chapter is both.
Oh, okay.
They go together, right? Because and yeah, your experience with your mother, in a way, it set you up to marry somebody who would become a bully. And you are now turning that into complete wisdom by saying, I'm going to stick up for myself and be strong where I need to. I see multiple facets of your healing. It's kind of like a diamond. One facet is I'm sticking up for myself in court. I'm learning to be stronger than I ever have been, and marrying a bully and now getting out of this marriage is teaching me how to be strong in court. And then you have the soft facet of, oh yeah, I'm going to honor my sensitivity and develop it. And you also have the plant medicine of mirroring it back to you. These are all different facets of your healing, and that you can turn into wisdom in one. I see it as one chapter about being a sensitive being shamed for that by your mother, and then turning it around as an adult into, no, I will not be shamed for this. I will honor it as a gift.
Okay.
And everything you've just shared us, we heard on Wednesday somebody telling a couple of different stories that felt like different chapters. Yours feels like one chapter to me.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just want to say to you, I do love your story.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And now, Alyssa.
I had a question about after writing the story. I had mentioned I wrote a memoir
Yeah.
about healing chronic fatigue syndrome and sexual abuse. And I did a lot of work, not only on writing the book in order to be able to write the book, but in bringing the book out into the world.
Right.
And I did that. I did interviews on,
Congratulations, Alyssa.
yeah,
It's
I did
huge.
interviews on radio and television, and I had a TV show, and like just lots of different ways and modalities. And what my question is about that end of it, and it's interesting that you brought up the constellation work, because I did a year-long constellation facilitator training as well. But in that process, there was a certain point where it felt like the retelling of the story in the way, as much as I wanted to share the wisdom and the healing, it kept going into the story and the trauma piece of it, which began to feel re-traumatizing.
Oh,
And um, and I did a constellation on it, and the message literally was like me walking away from the book, like
okay.
um, and so as this has come up, it feels like I almost went like, well, like, wow, how do we like tell our wisdom yet not stay stuck in the past?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a deep question. Well, there comes a time when we outgrow our own stories. Like I told my money story for a decade. And I've outgrown it. It's not appropriate for me to tell it right now in the same way that I told it. I used to tell it at Sacred Businesswoman retreats. I would spend 5 minutes telling it on day one and half an hour telling it on day two. I'm not saying it's re-traumatizing. That's a different phenomenon. But if I do think we can outgrow our stories at some point, and it has to do with what is our medicine in the world. My medicine in the world has changed from coaching business owners to coaching authors and doing constellations work. And so that, for whatever reason, that story isn't appropriate for me to be telling very much anymore. As far as re-traumatizing, I will say, like today, I told you some pieces from my 20-something self. I don't feel like it's re-traumatizing for me, and I'm not sure what makes the difference. I'm telling those stories not to be exhibitionist, but to be vulnerable and to illustrate a process of going from wound to wisdom.
Right.
But I don't know why. I go into the I let myself feel it. And it feels extremely vulnerable, which is why I had to catch myself a couple times, like talking about getting my period and not telling anyone. If I'm just going to say it on the surface, that's not very helpful. I need to really experience it, and it's not re-traumatizing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I'm resolved, or I know that it's of service to go back there, because I'm sure today girls getting their period who don't tell anyone, and what a nice
Yeah.
experience, so I'm being in empathy with that. So I'm not sure if this is helpful. Have I answered a question, or do you have a different question?
Um, I think because my own commitment in general is to, be the fullness of my being
That's a
and
beautiful.
be in my full like light and radiance and whatever. But I know that I've been on this healing journey, and I've been on yet another like healing journey, which, um, in fact, I mean, so after writing that memoir, I wrote a novel because I thought like, okay, this is, but now I'm going, okay, this next piece, do I fictionalize it? Do I write a memoir on this journey, about this journey? And I'd never even considered writing a memoir about it a possibility until doing this,
What I'm
doing the
picking
sessions
up
with
on-
you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm picking up on. I'm picking up on that you were pushing yourself a little bit much when you were writing the memoir.
Hmm.
It was, I don't know, I wasn't there, but just the energy that I'm getting, if it's re-traumatizing, there was a way you might have told more than you needed to, or more than you were truly comfortable telling, and that it wasn't fully integrated, and it was a little too much exposure.
Right.
That's just what I'm getting energetically from the way you're presenting this whole situation.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
my
I'm in a
recommendation
much
would
different place now, so it's,
totally. My recommendation would be to go easy on yourself if you do another memoir. Maybe consider the chapter. It's a lot easier than a whole book.
for
Maybe
sure.
consider the chapter and be gentle with yourself, and only tell the pieces that you feel comfortable fully being visible about, and just let the rest go, and just be gentle with yourself. That's my
Great.
recommendation.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
I think we'll leave it there for there.
Thank you.
We you're welcome. We have gone 2 hours, and congratulations, there are still 21 of you on here live. That's amazing. I'm going to remove my spotlight. I just want to honor every single one of you that is still here. You are committed to the path, committed to each other, committed to your own journey. I will just remind you again of apply to be published in my next book. You don't have to commit, I'll just check if I think it's a fit, and we can explore this further, and we can hop on Zoom to answer any questions. I don't see any further. Let's see. Sharokin says it inspires others and makes medicine. Bree says, I appreciate your naming masculine, feminist, strength, and feminist. I see it as structure and flow. Makes it feel less. I think structure and flow is another good one. Goes along with yin yang. Yes, Barb likes that too. Deborah says, Barb, any story from you sounds like it would be medicine for most of us. Yes. I would agree. We had somebody write in the Unbreakable Spirit about being a highly sensitive person and the world not understanding her. That's what her chapter was about, and how she came to terms with her spiritual gifts. Rachel, such a great question, Barb. I struggle with that too. I agree. It's not or, it's and. You just told the stories together. It flowed so well. Thank you for everything, Lolly. Rachel, beautiful conversation. Laura and Bree, thank you for modeling such a wise, respectful presence. Okay, I think we're good. We have Tara, thanks so much. It was very inspiring. Diane, thank you, Laura, for modeling a safe container. May it be so. May we all be that safe container for each other, honoring every single one of you here. Go have a great rest of your day. Namaste. Bye. Thank you.